Imagine waking up to headlines that Canada has just rejected a $20 billion U.S. shipyard deal, snubbing Donald Trump's America First demand, and instead pouring $60 billion into submarines with Germany and South Korea. Sounds like fiction, right? But it's real. And it's shaking the foundation of NATO, the U.S Canada relationship, and the future of Allied defense. Why would Ottawa, one of Washington's closest allies, gamble on foreign suppliers instead of American shipyards? Why would Canada risk upsetting a president who has already used tariffs as a political weapon? And most importantly, what does this mean for the Arctic, NATO security, and the billions of dollars in jobs and industry on both sides of the border? Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll see why this clash is bigger than submarines, bigger than shipyards, and why it could mark a turning point in the balance of defense power worldwide. Let's rewind. Canada's submarine fleet today is made up of Victoria-class subs used from the UK back in 1998. They were supposed to be temporary stopgaps until something modern could be built. Instead, they've limped along for decades, plagued by endless maintenance issues, breakdowns, and long stretches where only one submarine was operational. For a country with the world's longest coastline and a rapidly changing Arctic environment, that's a strategic disaster. The ice is melting. New shipping lanes are opening across the Northwest Passage. Russia is patrolling under the ice, China is expanding its blue water navy, and NATO has been pressuring Canada to boost its defense spending toward 2% of GDP. The case for a new, modern, Arctic-capable fleet was undeniable. Ottawa finally pulled the trigger with a plan worth $60 billion, the Canadian Patrol Submarine Project. The mission is clear. Subs that can operate in the harsh Arctic, stay stealthy, extend endurance, and fuel Canadian industry from Halifax to Vancouver. But here's the catch: Canada wanted its defense sovereignty back. That meant excluding U.S. builders, avoiding dependence on American political cycles, and demanding domestic participation in the project. Enter Donald Trump. Fresh off his America First playbook, Trump saw Canada's procurement as an opportunity, a $20 billion jackpot for U.S. shipyards. He pitched it as a triple win: secure supply chains for U.S. defense, jobs for towns like Groton and Newport News, and a showcase of American industrial leadership. His message to Ottawa was blunt: if you're buying submarines, they should be built in America, with Canadian money. The number, $20 billion, became a symbol of what U.S. industry was counting on. But Ottawa's answer? A hard no. Instead, Canada turned to ThyssenKrupp of Germany and Hanwha of South Korea. For Trump, it was a slap in the face. For U.S. suppliers who had already prepared for contracts, it was a gut punch. And for Canada, it was a declaration of independence in defense policy. Why would Canada take this gamble? Simple. Memories of U.S. tariffs on steel and aluminum were still fresh. Ottawa knew what it meant to be caught in the middle of America's political swings. By betting on Europe and Asia, Canada is hedging against Washington's unpredictability, diversifying its defense suppliers, and making sure its industry benefits at home. Sovereign sustainment is the key word here. But that choice has ripple effects. Trump's allies called Canada's stance a betrayal of American workers and a blow to NATO solidarity. They warned it weakens the arsenal of democracy. Ottawa countered that resilience is strength, and that over-reliance on one supplier, especially one as politically volatile as the U.S., is dangerous. After all, American shipyards are already maxed out with the Columbia and Virginia-class submarine programs. Adding Canadian orders could mean delays, cost spikes, or worse, mid-program political interference. So, who's in the running for Canada's biggest naval project in history? Two heavyweights. On one side, South Korea's Hanwha Ocean, formerly Hyundai Heavy Industries, pitching its state-of-the-art KSS-3 submarine. It's battery-forward, powered by lithium-ion systems, allowing longer underwater endurance, equipped with advanced sensors, and designed for future upgrades. Hanwha's aggressive pitch promised 4 subs by 2035, scaling to a 12-sub fleet by the early 2040s. On the other side, Germany's ThyssenKrupp Marine Systems, with its proven 212CD design, already ordered by Norway and Germany. Its selling point: hydrogen fuel cell propulsion, NATO interoperability, and lower risk with an already battle-tested logistics system. It's slower and steadier compared to Hanwha's speed, but Ottawa sees credibility in proven designs. Canada isn't just buying submarines, it's buying jobs, technology, intellectual property, and a say in long-term sustainment. The decision comes down to whether Ottawa bets on fast, innovative, battery-driven Korean subs, or sticks with Germany's NATO-tested hydrogen approach. Both sides are dangling carrots, jobs, tech transfer, local production, but Canada's priorities are Arctic survivability, stealth, endurance, and above all, sovereignty. Meanwhile, America is left with the fallout. For U.S. shipyards, Canada's rejection means factories idle and suppliers scrambling. Big yards like Groton or Newport News may be busy with U.S. Navy orders, but smaller subcontractors, from Pennsylvania steel mills to sonar electronics firms, were banking on Canadian demand to smooth cycles. Now, that pipeline is gone. Welders, electricians, machinists who could have been hired are facing empty slots. For a U.S. defense industry already struggling to recruit skilled trades, that's a major setback. Politically, Washington loses clout. For decades, the U.S. kept allies tied into its orbit by making them reliant on American kit. Aircraft, tanks, ships, and submarines. Ottawa's defiance signals something bigger. Allies are ready to walk away if U.S. demands clash with their own sovereignty and economics. Trump's tariff policies didn't help either. Critics argue those tariffs pushed partners like Canada to diversify. Supporters claim it proves allies should spend more at home. Either way, America faces a credibility test. Can it still call itself the arsenal of democracy if even its closest allies don't buy in? The stakes go beyond contracts. NATO interoperability could take a hit. Different submarine designs mean different logistics, training, and sustainment. But there's a counter-argument. A diversified defense industrial base makes the alliance more resilient against shocks, tariffs, sanctions, cyberattacks, or political bottlenecks. Ottawa is betting that resilience is worth the cost, as long as exercises and standards keep forces aligned. The bigger picture. A shift toward multipolar defense supply chains. Mid-tier powers like Canada are building regional ecosystems, Europe with its defense projects, Asia with its industrial pipelines, to cut reliance on Washington. If Canada joins Hanwha's Asian program, or ThyssenKrupp's European ecosystem, it reinforces that trend. And adversaries are watching closely. Russia benefits if Arctic patrols lag. China benefits if Allied submarine programs slow. That's why Canada's 2030s deadline is so critical. If Ottawa can deliver new submarines on time, it asserts control over the Northwest Passage and Arctic sovereignty. If it stumbles, rivals could fill the gap. Here's where it gets fascinating. Canada's submarine choice isn't just about defense, it could spill over into civilian technology and industry. Advances in lithium batteries, hydrogen propulsion, acoustic stealth, and autonomous underwater drones could find their way into civilian industries, from clean energy to shipping. That means Canadian industry could get a double win, jobs now, innovation wait for decades. On the other hand, America loses a chance to embed Canadian defense in its industrial orbit. Instead, it risks watching its influence erode as allies look to Europe and Asia for solutions. Could this be the start of a global realignment where U.S. defense dominance no longer feels automatic? Could this clash signal the rise of regional defense hubs that operate independently of Washington's industrial base? And if Canada can break free, who's next? Australia? Japan? Even European NATO allies looking for diversification. Now let's circle back to the heart of the issue. Canada's move is bold. It's risky. But it's also pragmatic. With Arctic ice melting, Russian submarines prowling, and Chinese ambitions growing, Ottawa simply couldn't afford to wait. Trump's $20 billion demand might have made sense for U.S. jobs, but for Canada, it looked like a trap. Memories of tariffs, steel wars, and political interference made Ottawa wary. Choosing Hanwha or ThyssenKrupp isn't just about subs, it's about securing independence, jobs, and industry for decades. For America, it's a dilemma. Influence no longer comes guaranteed, even with your closest allies. That's the warning embedded in Canada's decision. So here's the verdict. Canada's submarine project is more than procurement. It's a pivot. For Canada, it's sovereignty, jobs, and Arctic power. For America, it's a credibility crisis. For NATO, it's a test of unity. And for the world, it's a glimpse into the future of defense, a future where allies diversify, industries regionalize, and the US no longer calls all the shots. The question is, who gains more from this split, Canada, which secures independence, or rivals like Russia and China, who benefit from cracks in the alliance? And will Trump's pushback drive allies closer together, or further away? Before you go, I want to hear from you. Should Canada have supported US shipyards in the name of alliance solidarity? Or was Ottawa right to prioritize its own sovereignty and industry? Do you think Trump's America First tariffs drove Canada away, or would this move have happened regardless? And looking ahead, do you think more allies will bypass US defense suppliers in favor of Europe or Asia? Drop your thoughts in the comments, I'll be reading them all. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the clash between Canada and the US over submarines, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe. It helps us bring you more content on the machines, markets, and geopolitics shaping our world. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next upload.